America has long been thought of as a very litigious society where everyone's always suing everyone else. But thanks to some tricky pizzicky moves by corporate America recently, there might be less lawsuits than there used to be. And you might be stopping yourself from engaging in even very necessary and justified lawsuits when you sign the terms of service for the different apps and services you use. And I want to talk about a family that was seriously injured in a car accident, finding out that they now cannot sue because their daughter ordered something through Uber Eats. You might have seen this going around, and I really want Adrienne's thoughts on this. So this is John McGinty and Georgia McGinty. They were in the back of an Uber. This is March 2022. The driver sped through a red light and was T-boned by another car. So there's some gross negligence there. Georgia had serious injuries as a result of this. John had injuries as well. They tried taking Uber to court for a jury trial, but an appellate court recently ruled that they can't because they previously agreed to Uber's updated terms and conditions requiring arbitration rather than a jury trial, which are the same in the Uber Eats and Uber Ride app. Now they say they didn't sign that. It was their daughter, a minor, by the way, who used George's phone and agreed to Uber Eats terms of service, clicking a button that verified she was 18 years old. And the appellate court said that the company's terms are valid and enforceable. So because, look, again, there's gonna be dispute as to who actually pressed the button, who actually did the thing. But they got this loophole where you can't sue us potentially years later because your daughter using a different app signed the terms of service. And a lower court had basically said that that's not justifiable. It's the appellate court that's like, no, it's enforceable. I personally think there's gonna be this debate about who actually clicked the button, who actually signed the thing. I'm not that interested in that. I personally think a higher court, maybe the Supreme Court, if we had a sane Supreme Court, needs to step in and say, no, there are obviously limitations to what you can write into the terms of service. And this goes way beyond that. The one has nothing to do with the other. You don't get to avoid legal, like liability potentially just because somebody ordered, a hoagie a couple months earlier. I just think that that's insane. But Adrienne, I am very curious about your far more expert thought.
I agree with you in terms of the level of insanity. I do think it's a very difficult thing for companies to navigate nowadays, in part because they don't necessarily know who clicks a button. And what if, let's say even I clicked a button, but I brought a friend with me and they didn't click a button? Are they bound by that arbitration agreement? It's really difficult in this new day and age. And I think that the US Supreme Court will have a lot on its plate, but I actually think it'll probably be easy to dispose of these issues in part because they are so corporate friendly. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it always seems that our benches end up leaning toward what works in the best interest of a company or corporate conglomerate, as we're seeing in this situation here.
Yeah, look, this sort of thing needs to be shut down. I know some people will say like, well, you should read before you sign. I mean, come on. People have to sign so many things and they're so very long. Like, I think that is putting the onus on people to be responsible in a way that is very difficult rather than the corporations that are actually writing it up. I expect more out of them actually when it comes to responsibility. But there has been some progress in this. A lot of people are talking about how this is similar to what Disney did, whereas there had been a wrongful death lawsuit at one of its park restaurants, but the widow that involved had signed the Disney Plus terms and conditions. And again, how those things can possibly be connected makes no sense. Well, people were rightly incensed about this and there was a lot of backlash. Disney has now announced that they're not going to be using that against the widow. So these companies can't be expected to be responsible, but if the outroar, like the uproar, I guess, both, you can do both, is enough, then maybe that can get them to act right when they're publicly shamed. So I don't know, maybe people can start tweeting about Uber because that might be the only way we get them to treat that couple right. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is all just really crummy how these corporations will try to hold you to these boilerplate type of terms and agreements that nobody can read that 9 size font. No one's going to also be able to read your legalese. Like it's a total game now and it's disgusting.